Hey, shalom, shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Recha HaKodash, double honors to our apostles who are elders who rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth and sincerity. This is Rob Amop with the Nebraska Campus GMS in Fort, Nebraska. Yeah, man. I'm just doing some reading this morning and just wanted to share something with Akim. Because there's a lot of wiles of the devil. There's a lot of systematic programming that we've dealt with. And I just wanted to share an excerpt from that as pertaining to school. Okay. Just been doing this. So, yeah, I'm going to just get straight to it. There's a couple paragraphs. It says, in this paragraph is going to say, in the book is Weapons of Mass Destruction. As brothers should know, it's something I've been dealing with as a recent. But it's a lot of information in this book that, show you the ins and outs of Esau's intentions and his wiles. Now, as the scripture says, in making them in books, there's no end. So we should always filter everything through the scriptures. And so I'm just saying to brothers, getting hella books don't make you any smarter. The scriptures do, and the Holy Spirit, so trust in the Lord. But books like these give you insight to small statements in the Bible, if that makes sense. It tells you about the wiles of the devil. That's a general statement. These are one of the many wiles that goes into detail that we can go into. Okay, so in the prologue of the book, was it 22, page 20, or 22, section 22, paragraph 2. Okay, it says school trains children to be employees and consumers. Okay, because now I'll read this real quick. It says, teach your own kids to be leaders and adventurers. Okay, and that those leaders and adventurers is prophets, having faith, things like that. To be an adventurous is to be willing to walk a path, being willing to figure things out, being willing to go against the norm. Okay, that's how I take it, speaking as a man, you know what I'm saying, and always filtering things through the scriptures. Okay, so leaders is talking about, pretty much how can we as Israelite men teach people how to be leaders and adventurers in a biblical way. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much putting your hand to the plow is being an adventurer, traveling from city to city, preaching the word. Okay, being a leader is standing on business, being the person you don't have to wait for somebody to do it first. Okay, having some initiative. All right. And there's other qualities what comes into being a leader, but, I just wanted to bring that point home for this subject in particular. It says school trains to obey and to obey reflexively, and that's a very heavy statement. School trains children to obey reflexively. All right. Like a knee-jerk reaction. Okay. You get on CNN, you say anything. You get on the TV, say anything, the movies, you get on an article, whatever you get on. School has taught people to obey reflexively. If you got a copyright on it, if it's coming from Esau, then it must be true. That's why that's why the bulk of our people don't question whether those Jewish people are the real Israelites. But yet they just said it. There's no backing. There's no historical backing. There's no nothing. And they could just say it and people reflexively believe it to be true. Okay. So that's an example of how the school system has infected us, and we have been drawn out of the world because the world is polluted. And this is the part of it. We've been drawn out, the thinking, the programmed thinking that they bestowed on us. And, I tell friends of mine in the world all the time, look here, man, scrutinize everything Edom says, man. Scrutinize everything I don't give a damn if it makes sense or not. Still scrutinize it. Go do some research. Go look back. They tell you that this Ozempic kills this and that, and then you go scrutinize it. Go look up what's in that shit. Okay? Start finding out some reptilian proteins and shit, and having you lose weight, but you know what I'm saying? It affects certain, you know what I'm saying? But getting back to it, says well-schooled kids, Salakia, says teach. Now it says school trains kids to obey reflexively, right? Now they're saying teach your own kids to think critically and independently, and this is a skill set, and especially dealing with younger brothers, dealing with even within the faith, without the faith, of dealing with people in the world, they don't know how to think critically. They do not know how to connect dots. They know how to memorize dots. School has taught people, as this book, and I learned this from that, is that school has teach you to remember where the dots are, but they don't teach you how to connect the dots. They'll tell you about taxes. They'll tell you about credit, but they won't teach you how to manage credit. They won't teach you what credit's for. They won't teach you what school is for. They just teach you, oh, get an education, but they don't teach you why. Why are you going to school? So you can be successful? What is success? You know what I'm saying? Because the when you get out of school, the bulk of these jobs that this nation wants you to work is not a degree-based job. This schooling is just meant to farm you into being a worker. So once you get out of school, you know how to show up on time. You know how to do what you're told. All right. And just to get it done, because that's what they told you to do, whether it makes sense or not. You know what I'm saying? You get your recess, your break. You're conditioned to be a worker bee. Among many other things, you're conditioned to go with whatever the government tells you. So, yeah, it says, so when they say well-schooled kids, because education, there's nothing wrong with education. The scripture said that there's some teachers, and to educate means to bring out what? Bring out something that's within you. All right? Not to suppress or control. All right? School is more of a religion than an education system. All right? It says, well-schooled kids have a low threshold for boredom. Help your own to develop an inner life so that they'll never be bored. Urge them to take on the serious matters material, the grown-up material in history, literature, philosophy, music, art, economics, theology. So it's telling you to be creative in that world. All right. In our world, how do you extrapolate that, filter that? It's talking about going off the spirit, getting these precepts. Stop just reading it like it's a novel. Don't read the Bible like it's a novel. You have to go off the spirit. You have to be creative. But again, the reason why I think it's important is that schooling has suppressed your faith. Schooling has suppressed your adventure, your initiative, your ability to explore. It suppressed that and stuck you into this box of right and wrong. So you're not going to pull the trigger on anything unless you know it's right and it has been proven to be right. You're not going to believe it unless it's proven to be right. So this is why people struggle with us being the real Israelites. Even though there's proof through their programming, they believe that what Esau says is proof. So we have to go the extra mile to prove them because they're programmed. All right. So there's a couple more I want to get some precepts and a couple paragraphs out of here. 2 more paragraphs and then we'll call it good. Okay. But there's a statement that was said that was very, very profound. Okay. I can't find it now. But the statement goes along the lines and said, in order to have mass production, you got to have mass consumers. Okay. Yeah, I can't find it. I'm not going to deal with all that. But the point is that, schooling is just to make you a worker bee and a consumer. All right, because through the Industrial Revolution and the many evolutions of it, it's still capitalism. It's still trying to push out as much product to sell to other people to make as much money, to collect all the money in the world. Even though the money's fiat notes, it's still a monopoly play. Okay, and through capitalism, you got a mass production factories. Okay, you out here pumping out hella fucking donuts, hella milk. You out here pumping hella bread, hella bacon. People have to eat that in a hella amount. So they use different tactics, like bacon in itself. Bacon wasn't even breakfast in itself. Jake didn't have no full big ass meal during breakfast, man. You don't break your fast that way. That's bad on your body. But they told you need to have this, and that because they want to sell this in bulk. You know what I'm saying? And this thing became a habit, and now they don't even have to put out commercials no more. It's expected for you to get bacon. It's just expected for you to have bacon with your breakfast. It's expected for you to have a certain combination of food for your breakfast. It's expected because that's the norm. All right, goes into the monkeys in the cage with the ladder and the banana, and they spray water on them and all that. Yeah, it goes into that. All right, generational curses that they fixated upon our people. Okay, so before I get into that, this last paragraph, I want to read this real quick. Okay, because we're dealing with systematic oppression, and Esau like to play the game of, what is systematic oppression and racism is to you? That's a mind game. Okay, because if you can't explain it well enough, then they're going to say that they're going to gaslight you. Okay, when they know damn well it's true, but they're playing this technical right and wrong. Well, technically, that type of shit. And it makes you walk off like, oh, well, maybe I am the bad person in the situation. Maybe I am lazy. Maybe I am. It's like, no, bro. Because they're not willing to do all this. All right? All this stuff they're expecting out of Jake and out of the world, they're not willing to do. They're not willing to work no 40-hour shifts, 50 hours overtime, only to get paid a certain amount. The hell, they went crazy behind the tax increase from the British. So let's cut the bullshit. Okay? 2 Corinthians 2:11 says, at least Satan get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Yeah, and this book, again, is everything's filtered through the scriptures. So this book ain't nothing to tell you but to that there's elements here that are programming elements. Now we know that Esau is of Satan, and we need to, as an enemy, never trust our enemy, as rusted, so is his wickedness. We know that. But there's sometimes you can fall into these floor traps that they set. Okay? You can, hey man, this book alone made me damn near want to homeschool my kids, but in this system, that's impossible because they set it up that way. Like the whole concept of Babylon puts a block on our culture, and so therefore we can't use logic properly because it's in our DNA to be Israelites, man. It's in our DNA, but they teach you just like old folks' homes. Old folks' homes should not exist. Okay, when you go into the book of Tobit, in Tobit chapter 5, verse 17, it says, "But Anna, his mother, wept and said to Tobit, why hast thou sent away our son? Is he not the staff of our hand and going in and out before us?" Okay, and why did she say that? Because they're up in age, so Tobit runs the missions. He go run the plays, and then when you go into Sirach chapter 3, I believe verse 12, Sirach 3 and 12. All right, it further tells you that it says, "My son, help thy father in his age, and grieve him not as long as he liveth." So this is a cultural norm for us. But what is this society cultural norm? When parents get old, they want their kids out of the house. So not only the parents are bugged out and the kids are bugged out. When you get old enough, I want you out of my house. And then the kids, when I get established enough, I want to live my life. You're old, man. Let's go to no old folks' home, send you there. I want to travel. This whole vacation and vacations and all that's Babylonian ways to get you to spend money. Now, ain't nothing wrong with going somewhere, but it should be for something. Okay? It should be a career choice to take your ass to Jamaica, or it should be to visit someone of importance, not for you to lounge around and shit. You know what I'm saying? Make your own area a lounging area. You know what I'm saying? Because you've been taught to consume. You've been taught to buy. Buy these plane tickets, buy these hotels, buy these places to stay. Hotels didn't exist. Well, they did have lodging places. I ain't gonna lie, because Yahweh Shai in the manger, but the concept of a hotel truly didn't exist because Jake would lodge with, their fellow stock. All right. You know what I'm saying? Ubers didn't exist. You would rely on your fellow stock. You would pay them. I.e. Raphael and Tobit. He got paid daily to run that play with him. All right? You can't even have nobody watch your kids. You can't have your kids travel with nobody. All right? In this society, man. Why? Because it's a mixed stock. There's people not only race mixed, but culturally mixed. You got people that are pedophiles. You got people that don't respect kids. They got people that don't like you. They got people that don't like what you believe in. They got kids that may not like kids. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a variation of cultures that's just all in the mix. All right. And it's creating a crab in a bucket concept to where you're isolated. Even if you have a family, everybody's so different that you're stuck by yourself, and that's why, we ourselves have the brotherhood, but people in the world, they don't really have nobody because everybody on their own time. The parents on their own time. In all reality, kids supposed to grow up and finish what their parents started. If your parents bought some land and they farming that land, you stay there, build you a house on that land once you get old enough, or extend the house. And y'all stay there, and you take care of your parents. They move along. You bury them, and then your kids come up in your stead, and you're supposed to increase on that land. But Jake they've been programmed to, I want my own land. I want to do all this on my own. You don't see no fucking king get land, get all this kingdom, and then his son come and say, you know what? I don't want to be a king in this land. I'm about to start all over and then move to a rural area and then start my own kingdom over there, and I'm going to leave this to somebody else. That don't make any sense, do it? But let's continue on. It says, Ephesians 4:22, that ye put off concerning the former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust. Yeah, we've been programmed. All right. And be renewed in the spirit of your mind through the scriptures. All right. And that ye put on the new man, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness. Because all this program, from the TVs to the schooling to the laws to the propaganda and the marketing of Esau, he's turned everything upside down. All right. So we're going to read this last statement, this last excerpt. This is from this going into the book in itself. I was reading the prologue earlier. This is chapter 1. And I'll read two portions of it. Okay, this is the second paragraph of chapter 1, the running the world. It says, Calhoun wrote that the fondest wish of utopian thinkers was coming true, because the utopian thinkers is the elite, okay, the people that are actually running the show. Because education, there's nothing wrong with education. There's nothing wrong with learning and becoming smart. It's just that schools put on a front that they're teaching you how to become smart. These kids are dumb as hell coming out of school. And it shouldn't be that way. They have no common sense. They have no a reality of life. I ain't gonna say good memories. Kids have good memories regardless at a young age, right? So if you tell them over and over what 1 + 1 equals, they're gonna have to remember it. But they don't know what it means. A lot of these kids come out here and don't know how to manage their money. They don't know how to manage their time. They don't know how to manage anything that is significant to real life. Okay? But it says children were passing from blood families into the custody. Children were passing from blood families into the custody of commodity experts. What does that mean? That your culture and your devotion went from your family to the government. So you're going to put all your energy into forwarding the government's agenda. The government is your daddy. All right? Isaiah chapter 30, trust not, say unto those who trust into the coverings of Egypt and not the covering my spirit. All right? So they may add sin to sin. Right? This is a part of that complex. Okay? It says, in time, he wrote the dream of Darwin and Galton would become reality through the agency of what? Of public education. And so again, it says, in time, he wrote the dream of Darwin and Galton would become reality through the agency of public education, designed to check the mating of the unfit, the dream of scientific population control. Because within the schooling, they'll put you in retardation, your grades, you're a dropout, whatever, man. Okay? But going to the second paragraph, and this is the last portion I want to read. It says, Mayor John Hyland of New York City made a elliptical remark in a public address back in 1922, which preserves some of the weirdness of that moment. All right. So this is a statement during that time, because you're talking about the 1907, 1915 is around when Prussian schooling, aka Prussian American programming, began. All right. And so this is a statement in 1922. So this is about 7 years after. It's a nice, decent time for that concept to be rooted in. Okay. Highland announced that the schools of the city had been seized by tentacles of an invisible government, just as an octopus would seize prey. A pointed echo of the chilling pronouncement made years earlier by British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, when he claimed that all important events were controlled by an invisible government of which the public was unaware. The particular octopus Highland meant was the Rockefeller Foundation. Okay? The Rockefeller Foundation. And when you go into historical, monumental events, women's liberation, civil rights, BLM, all this, it gets funded by people. There's an invisible government. There's an invisible funding going on. Okay? And normally it's like companies like Rockefeller, all right, who funded women's lib. But why did they fund it? In order to tax the whole community. Why did women believe in it? Because they grew up in school, all right? Just like the civil rights movement. That was funded. Martin Luther King was funded, all right? A lot of the Rosa Parks, that was funded. All right, for them to sit on that bus, when you do the research on that, she was told to sit in the front of that. She ain't just go and get. They had to find the buses was for Jake in the first place. That's for one. That's for fucking one. There was really no problem with the sitting in the back of the bus and the front of the bus, right? But they created a white bus. Pretty much they set up a trap, all right? The government, I ain't gonna say the governing body, I would say, I'm not gonna say government in particular, but the governing body, the governing body, aka the Rockefellers or whoever was funding, it was stated that Martin Luther King, I have the excerpt. I'm not gonna get it right now. I forget which book it was in, but it was stating that damn, Medical Apartheid. That's the name of the book, Medical Apartheid. It was saying how Martin Luther King and W.E. Du Bois were working with the CIA in order to forward Darwinism. Okay, they were paid and they were helped to forward Darwinism. All right, as many as they had plenty of Martin Luther Kings walking around in them churches, man. They just found one and paid him and got him to do what they wanted to do. And whoever it was that had the most influence, and it's nothing to make you get influence. All they got to do is put you on a TV screen, man. All they got to do is get you on the stage, because everybody can't just, people are so simple, they got to see a stage to think you're important. They're so simple that if they see you on TV, they think you're important. But you can't just walk up to a TV network and say, I want to get on TV. You can't just walk up to any event and get a stage. You got to get permits. You got to get approved. You got to do this. And every Jake don't know how to do that. But Esau know how to do that. All right. And so he does it. And then he chooses who he puts on that stage and who he puts on that TV screen. And he can keep pumping and pumping and pumping this image and this idea of this person. Not saying, because some people may just be themselves and they're very influential. Okay, some people are good speakers. Some people have a great impact. And when you do that, they want to control it. Esau wants to put his tentacles around whatever has influence or power control, because he wants to be the sole controller of everything. All right. And that's the thing. That's one of the many wiles of the devil. So when you get these leaders that just be all free willy-nilly speaking on stuff that shouldn't be spoken on and just hella aggressive and saying things that, you should be raising an eyebrow, man. Like, oh, hold up. Is either he a whistleblower, is either he's cracking, or this guy is controlled opposition. Because there's so many layers to Esau's fucking wickedness, man. It's wearisome, man. He weary himself with all this, as the scriptures say. All right. But I'm going to continue on. It says, just as an octopus will seize its prey. So like I read that already, just proving that, the Rockefeller Foundation was a part of the funding. And it's if I were to look it up, man, you could see all the matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can look it up real quick. So they don't give me any specifics, and for the sake of time, I'm not gonna get into it, but they had their hands in a lot of things. If you go to like the AI overview, the Rockefeller University, the General Education Board, and the Rockefeller Foundation with the specific affairs. Okay, they call it the philanthropy, all right, of the Rockefeller Foundation. And I'll just read this list. It says the Medical Institute for Research, later Rockefeller University, the Sanitary Commission, International Health Division, China Medical Board, Yellow Fever Vaccine, General Education Board, International Education Board, Rockefeller University, University of Chicago, Council of Foreign Relations, Royal Institute of International Affairs, Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, which is something, Carnegie's are one of those powerful names, Brookings Institution, World Bank, Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, Rockefeller Brothers Fund, Rockefeller Foundation, Rockefeller Family Fund, Institute, Henry. It's a long list. Maine Coast Heritage Trust, International House. All right. And just to, so when we get into it, you go into the AI overview, and the AI overview, this is just a summary. It collects all the information This is, normally we study this information. So pretty much I'm saying you got to learn how to pick out the bones of AI overview, because they'll say some shit just like they'll say stuff in other things. It says the Rockefellers and the women's liberation movement have a complex, sometimes contradictory relationship. While some individuals within the Rockefeller family were involved in or supported aspects of the movement, the family's philanthropic efforts and the broader role of foundations in the movement have also been critiqued. Here are more detailed look. Abby Rockefeller in Cell 16. Abby Rockefeller, a member of the family, actively participated in the Boston area female liberation movement known as Cell 16. She joined the group after reading their publication, No More Fun and Games, a journal of female liberation. She contributed to Cell 16's efforts in promoting self-defense for women, becoming skilled in karate. John D. Rockefeller, the third in development. John D. Rockefeller addressed the role of women in development, particularly in 1974. Okay, he emphasized the need for attention to women's roles as vital to modern development. His remarks focused on women's bodily autonomy and empowerment through development work. And the thing is that through women's liberation came contraceptives, birth controls, things like that, which led to more divorce, more promiscuous women. It was turning the things upside down, because Esau started out with a lot of godly principles. Okay. But they were involved in women's liberation, to say the least. I didn't find too much on it. I just don't feel like going through all that right now for the sake of time. But the point is that there's programming going on. There's money behind, they'll put a face up and then they'll put the money behind that face. And so they're gonna use that face as a scapegoat. Okay. That's what they do with these wars. Okay. They pay other countries or pay other people. They incentivize countries to do what they want them to do, i.e. the alphabet community and Ham. All right. They tell lies. They create deals and pacts and have them sign deals and say, well, you signed the deal, you agreed to it. And it's like by force or manipulation or trickery. You don't say that part, you omit that part. Well, your name's on it's like, come on, man. But that's the wiles of the devil, man. So yeah, that's all I wanted to put out. With that being said, I want to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakwadash. Double honor to our apostles who are elders who rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth and sincerity. Shalom.
In the water, defunded the schools, stole the land, and then turned around and say, why can't y'all get it together? That's not failure. That's a setup. That's a setup. And you already know what it is. They starve black cities and then blame the people for dying. There's a pattern you're not supposed to notice. They underfund the water, they strip the tax base, dissolve the infrastructure, and then turn to the camera and say, see, black people can't govern themselves. Right? That's not failure. That's all narrative warfare being painted out in a ritual of collapse that they themselves have set up. Here's the thing. They do it like this. Pick any black city. Any black city. We can talk about Jackson, Flint, Baltimore, Memphis, East St. Louis, Gary. The pattern is consistent and is disgusting and disturbing. They withhold state funding first. They gentrify or abandon. They undermine leadership. They over-police and under-support. They exploit crisis for privatization. And then they say they did it to themselves. They burn the roof, then sell you the tar and ask why you smell like the smoke. Here's the thing. Then they give you this sovereignty illusion first, right? They say you have black mayors, black councils, black leadership, but they won't mention this. That you have federal disinvestment, redlining legacies, state takeovers, corporate extraction, and anti-black policy sabotage. It's not sovereignty. It's performative democracy with a knife in its back. And you can't call it self-governance if every lever is rigged. You can't call it that. That's not what it is. So now we're in a situation where people mentally, after decades of curated decay, they ask, why can't y'all fix your own communities? That's when they want to ask it. What, and they always do this every time. They do it with Flint, and you hear black people talk like this all the time. Why can't we get it together? We got the resources. Let's just make it happen. Are we being serious? Are we being serious? What's happening? What's happening? They do this all the time. And some of us start believing it. Start blaming each other. Start fighting over scraps. Start thinking our failure is proof of cultural deficiency instead of engineered scarcity. They didn't just defund your city. They overfunded your shame. So now after the water crisis, the narrative starts to flip. You get an extraction and takeover. Outsourcing contracts, private equity housing takeovers, charter schools replacing community governance, nonprofit colonization, and corporate revitalization that displaces the displaced. Right? Like, you don't get to be home anywhere. Right? That's one thing America tries to get you to be at. You don't get to re-indigenize anywhere. They shuffle you. Right? They mine the collapse for profit and then make you pay the emotional tax. So think of it like this. They talk like this. You bled. They bought the land. You wept. We write the op-ed. That's all that happens. That's all that happens. We're going to get a New York Times piece. Right? That's all that's going to come out of that. Black autonomy. Here's the thing, because I want y'all to stick with this. Black autonomy must be proved, not presumed.